Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're looking at a really powerful, quite challenging article.
Yeah, it's called He Would Have Had Me Killed on Aspie Supremacy, Eugenics, and the Fractured Myth of an Autism Community. It's by Jaime Hoerricks.
And it starts with something you've probably seen online, right? A viral meme. It's that, that cute cartoon boy, lab coat, blackboard full of equations.
And a little genius symbol.
Exactly. And the text is asking, basically, why is an autistic child's deep knowledge called an obsession when for another kid it might be expertise?
And that point lands, it really resonates.
Totally. It highlights that double standard, how autistic interests get pathologized, gifted versus red flag. Seems fair.
It does seem fair, but that's where the author, Hoerricks, just stops. They describe this feeling of their whole system lurching, a recoil.
Recoil? Why?
Because they see something else underneath. Not advocacy, really, but more like a recruitment poster.
Wow. Okay, a recruitment poster for what?
For a specific, acceptable, good kind of autism. That's the argument.
Okay, so that's what we're diving into today. We want to unpack that idea, the violence beneath the visuals, as the author puts it.
Yeah, and look at this concept of Aspie Supremacy. Its roots in eugenics, which is heavy stuff.
Definitely. And then explore this idea of a fractured myth of an autism community. What does real community even look like?
Exactly.
So let's go back to that meme, the visuals. The author points specifically to the white boy, the maths, the coat, the smile.
And they argue the problem isn't the tone of the meme, it's the frame. It's what's left out.
What's left out?
Well, it's a very precise mix, isn't it? Whiteness, masculinity, implied verbal fluency, the whole academic look.
Okay.
It subtly signals this is the good kind, the fundable kind, the kind that, won't make people uncomfortable, won't bite, won't stim too loud.
The kind the system can handle.
Precisely. The kind that demands a voice the system already knows how to hear.
So who does get to be the expert in that frame, according to the author?
It's very specific. It's the coder. The kid who speaks in full sentences. Cis, white, boyish, forgivable social quirks because maybe he'll be a tech billionaire.
Right. The potential prodigy narrative.
This leads directly into this term the author uses, drawing on Anna DeHooge, Aspie Supremacy.
Aspie Supremacy. What exactly does that entail?
It's this post-humanist idea. Not just wanting equality with neurotypicals, but aspiring to be seen as superior. More rational, more efficient, less messy. It elevates this specific Aspie type as valuable economically, pure epistemologically, culturally safe, worthy.
Oh, okay.
And it's got two faces, this supremacy idea. On one hand, it distances itself from the quote-unquote bad autistics.
Who are they?
The non-speaking, the multiply disabled, anyone who can't or won't assimilate. It reinforces ableism against them.
And the other face?
It wraps itself in productivity, intellect, scientific neutrality. Like a kind of autistic neoliberalism, the author calls it. Your worth is your market value.
So the author's critique is that this isn't dismantling ableism at all.
Not at all. It's negotiating with it. And by doing that, it becomes its enforcer.
Masquerading as care, but built on leaving people behind.
Exactly.
So who is left out of that meme's frame? Who doesn't see themselves?
Well, think about it. Girls undiagnosed for years. Trans folks, GLPs, gender nonconforming, language diverse, people who maybe communicated with scripts or songs first. Kids who can't make eye contact, who get overwhelmed by lights, who standard tests will just never capture. They aren't in that picture.
And to understand where this idea of sorting good versus bad comes from, the author points directly at Hans Asperger.
Yeah, and they're very clear. He didn't just live at a complicated time. He collaborated. He sorted children. Educable or expendable.
Which leads to that absolutely chilling line from the author. Dr. Asperger would have had me killed.
And they mean it literally. No metaphor.
What's the history there?
Action T4. A Nazi child euthanasia program. Over 6,000 children murdered. Not in camps initially, but through, bureaucratic decisions, paperwork, clipboards.
Just deciding who wasn't worth saving.
Places like Spiegelgrund, where Asperger sent children, deaths listed as failure to thrive. And the author, based on their own autistic traits, they know which group they'd have been in.
Asperger protected the ones he saw as useful, right? The gifted, the educable.
Useful to the Reich. Those are the words used. The others, the inconvenient ones who rocked or flailed or didn't conform, sent away. To die.
And the author felt they would have been in that group.
Absolutely. They described their own childhood, echoing, scripting, silent crying, self-soothing behaviors. None of that looked like promise in 1940s Vienna.
Just the luck of the draw, time, place, regime.
Yes, exactly. Pure luck.
And the terrifying point the author makes is that this logic, it isn't gone. It's just different now, modernized.
Sanitized, yeah. It's baked into how we define independence, who gets AAC devices, who gets mainstreamed.
How so?
It's in funding reports tied to test scores. It's in teacher size, parents posting meltdowns but deleting comments that make them uncomfortable.
And it's in the memes, right? Elevating that specific type.
Yeah, the white, STEM-aligned boy, the acceptable autism,
Yeah.
the grant-winning, conference-friendly version, the one that says implicitly, we're not like those autistics.
And every time worth gets tied to productivity or speaking normally or fitting neatly into boxes of whiteness or maleness.
It's not just the obviously non-passing folks left behind. It's also, the author argues, the queer autistics, the trans autistics, the gender non-conforming ones, the ones never meant to pass in the first place.
Because the ideology behind Action T4 wasn't just about disability, was it?
No, the author broadens it out. It was about purification, coherence, maintaining this idea of a singular, productive, pure national body.
Yeah.
Der deutsche Volk.
Okay, things like queerness were seen as.
Betrayal, a disruption to that order.
And that drive for order, for purification.
Yeah.
It didn't just vanish in 1945.
No, it adapted. It shows up subtly and sometimes not so subtly. U.S. tax codes favoring certain family structures, nationalist policies in places like Hungary or Russia.
School board fights, sterilization laws still on the books some places, clinic gatekeeping.
Right. All these ways of enforcing a certain kind of normal.
So when autistic advocacy, even unintentionally, echoes these patterns of sorting and ranking.
The author's conclusion is stark. It's eugenics by another name. It demands we clean ourselves up first, which is itself a eugenic impulse.
Wow. So this legacy of eugenics, it just rebranded, put on like pastel colors for Instagram.
That's the argument. Pastel Colors, YouTube channel, calls itself awareness, shows up in reels and memes. But the core idea is autistic people as problems to be fixed, sorted, improved, are still there, just maybe wrapped in nicer language.
And autistic content creators themselves might be part of this.
Potentially, yeah. Especially those who are self-branded, chasing algorithms, selling merch. They might end up crafting this very palatable, brand-safe version of autism because that's what gets engagement, what gets rewarded. It becomes a performance.
The author traces this line, don't they, from Asperger's useful ones.
Canner's Cold Mothers, Lovas, ABA, DSM subtypes, Autism Peaks puzzle piece.
All the way to current language like functioning labels or support needs.
Yeah, or risk genes, outcomes, independence. The words change, but the logic, the author argues, is disturbingly similar. Divide and rank. Who's salvageable?
And just being aware isn't enough.
No. Awareness without history is hollow, the author writes. Diagnosis without deconstruction is dangerous. You can be autistic and still prop up these systems if you benefit from performing normalcy.
Which brings us to the online experience. The author mentions being in autism groups.
Seeing that lab coat meme get praised.
But when they try to point out the Aspie Supremacy angle, the erasure.
Tone policed. Told you're being divisive. That quiet despair the author talks about.
Leading to the realization that there isn't one single autism community.
No, just fragments, contradictory spaces, parenting grief groups here, behavioral compliance groups there, shiny influencer accounts. And then just, people like me, as the author says, somewhere else entirely.
And even in autistic-led groups, those old hierarchies creep in.
Often, yeah. Whiteness-centered, cisness assumed, productivity valued above all else. Autistic adults welcomed, maybe, but only if they act like the good children parents wish they had.
And now there's this whole other layer of AI and bots.
Right. You don't even know who's behind the account half the time. Meta is demonetizing non-verified voices because of these AI bot farms churning out content.
Echo chambers optimized for reach, not reality.
Exactly. Scripts written by people who just want clicks, not connection, who just capitalize.
So faced with all this, the author describes leaving these spaces, not dramatically, but just a quiet click.
Yeah, realizing that scattering, drifting sideways is safer, more honest. It's not exile. It's choosing not to keep twisting yourself into shapes that don't fit.
And finding connection elsewhere.
In those liminal spaces, queer spaces, trans collectives, poetry circles, dinners with other people who weren't picked first.
Places where you don't have to explain everything.
Exactly. We're saying, I don't do eye contact, or that light's too loud, or I talk in scripts sometimes isn't weird. It just is.
So what does a different kind of community look like then, for you listening?
It's not about branding. Not another space where you're only welcome if you perform perfectly, speak fluently, smile politely, disclose neatly.
And never ask who's being excluded.
Right. The author envisions something rooted in solidarity. Not shared identity necessarily, but shared values. Remembering what it's like to be nearly erased. Knowing the cost of being misnamed, sidelined, ignored.
A community where no one is too much.
Or too quiet, too angry, too disabled, too trans, too slow, too off-script.
Where you don't have to prove your worth by being a genius or a perfect advocate or someone who overcame anything.
Yeah. The value is in the caring, the protecting others, the willingness to sit with uncomfortable truths.
So the final thought is really for those listeners still feeling adrift, maybe. Still not quite finding a home in the hashtags, ghosting out of groups.
You're not alone. The author sees you. The misfits, the survivors, the unsorted, the ones refusing to flatten themselves.
And maybe the real community building happens elsewhere.
Maybe. In the quiet spaces. The DMs, the margins, the long threads nobody reads. That's where we might build something better. Not louder, not shinier, but truer. Something worth staying alive for.